book nerds, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to do the 2 books 1 stone book tag. I was not tagged to do this, but I saw Kaz from Cats and Camera do this video and I thought it was a really cool tag, so I'm going to just do it. The basic idea is that you have a book that answers both questions or 2 answers for 1 question kind of thing. So I'm just going to launch straight into it with no further rambling. The first question is, what is the second last book you read? That would be Alice by Christina Henry. I have powered through the Christina Henry books for reasons that will become apparent soon. And I reread Alice, which was good. I'm not going to say too much about it now because I am going to do a video regarding it, but yeah, it's a decent book. I like it. Very, very dark horror. Very, very sexual based horror, but yeah, I love Christina Henry, I love her work. The next question is what is the second book from the top of your TBR? My Goodreads TBR is ginormous, so I decided to just go with the default organisation, and the second top book is Forget Me by Kit Harington. Sorry, it's Forget Me by K.A. Harington, not Kit Harington. This is about a girl whose boyfriend dies and then she uploads his photo for like a memorial page on a website, and this facial recognition software tells her that it's this guy named Evan, and she tracks him down and he looks identical to her dead boyfriend. Kind of expands from there. It's like a young adult thriller, I believe. I didn't really find it anywhere either, so hopefully I'll get my hands on it eventually. The next question is, what are 2 2-star reads? I actually give 2 stars quite rarely, I think, relative to my other rankings. So I've gone for some old school 2-star ratings. So we've got, firstly, 2 Truths and a Lie by Brent Hartinger. Yeah, Hartinger. This is a young adult thriller. I will link my blog post down below if you want to know why it was really bad. I won't go into spoilers here, but it's a young adult thriller with kind of a crazy premise, and there's like three statements on the back of the book, and the idea is 2 of them are true, 1 of them is a lie, and there is some kind of murder, I think, or mysterious death, and it's a bunch of teenagers who go camping, and basically they're all kind of terrible people and none of them are telling the truth. It's an interesting book, and I remember having read it like 2 years ago because it was so insane. But yeah, it got 2 stars because it entertained me, which is meant it wasn't a 1 star. And the other one I remember a lot less about, but I've heard more about, and that is The Murders of Molly Southbourne by Tade Thompson, I believe. This is a horror book and it's really short, and it's basically, if I remember correctly, a girl who, when she bleeds, another version of her comes out of the blood and they have to like fight to the death. It sounds really cool and a lot of people rave about this book, but I just found it really lacking. I found it didn't use the premise properly. It kind of didn't do what I wanted it to do, so it was just it had some cool ideas but didn't fulfill them properly. The next prompt is, what are 2 great books by the same author? I've decided to go with Holly Bourne because I've not talked about her enough yet, clearly. And I'm going to pick The Places I Cried in Public, which is one I read recently. That's a young adult contemporary about a girl who's going through a breakup, a really bad breakup, with some horrible past things that have happened to her through this breakup. And it's basically her retracing the steps of the places that she's been with this guy, and kind of all the places she's cried and how he made her cry, and her coming to terms with the breakup and a lot of stuff about herself. The other one I'm going to talk about is How Do You Like Me Now, which is her adult book. This is about a woman who is one of those kind of self-help guru type things, and she's made her living writing about her 20s, and now she's in her 30s, and her career people are kind of like, you need to write about something new, you can't just coast off this one book forever. But she's been with this guy for 6 years now. Her partner and their relationship is real bad, and it's real bad in the kind of way which makes it very hard to leave the relationship. And I don't mean that in it's not an abusive relationship, I mean it's just like a mediocre, awful relationship. I love this book because she writes bad relationships so well and so realistically, and it just blew me away with how accurate it is and how sad and heartbreaking, but also it's a really good story. It's a really strong book and I love it. I love all of Holly Bourne's work. The next question is 2 bails or 2 books you wish you bailed on. I'm actually getting a lot better about DNFing books, so I don't really have any books that I wished I bailed on. Sadly, both of these that I'm going to talk about are arcs. The first one is Gingerbread by, I think it's Helen OBrien, something like that. She's quite a famous author. It will be written correctly in my video description down below. Gingerbread was about, it's kind of like a Hansel and Gretel retelling type thing about a woman who can make this magical gingerbread type thing. I didn't get very far in it. It's literary fiction and the writing style was just not for me. It just didn't, I couldn't gel with it at all. And for similar reasons, I also bailed on We the Wildflowers by L.B. Simmons, which it's a young adult contemporary about a group of children, teenagers, who are all part of the same kind of care home place, and it's about their lives and kind of the trauma they've been through. My problem with that book was, again, the writing style. It was written very, very flowery prose, and the characters kind of talk to each other in a way that people don't really talk to each other. And I would have been okay if they thought in that way, because, I can buy the whole pretentious teenager kind of thing, but like I always remember the scene that made me stop reading was one of them gets bullied in the cafeteria, like just lightly pushed or something like that, and their friend just goes like, don't worry about that bully, you are a light in the dark, you are like worth so much more than all these people. I just gave like a big flowery speech with lots of metaphors, and I was like, I mean, you're at school and okay, bullying is awful, don't get me wrong, but you just got slightly pushed and just launched into this over-the-top dramatic speech. It was too unrealistic for me. So those are the 2 books I bailed on. The next question is a tough one. It's what are 2 favourite reads of the year so far? I'm not going to pick favourites. I'm just going to talk about 2 I really, really liked and that I have given either 4.5 stars or 5 stars. I'm still deciding. The first one is The Grace Year by Kim Liggett. This I'll be talking more about in my wrap-up. I don't know what order these are going to go into, but it'll be my what month are we in now? May wrap-up. It'll be my May wrap-up. This is a YA dystopian horror book about a society where girls are sent to live their 16th year of life out in the wilderness with each other because it's believed that they have magical powers and they need to go into the wilderness and dispel all their magical powers and then they can come back and live in society. It's got strong feminist views, it's got really very intense horror that I wasn't expecting, but in a good way. And it was beautiful and I loved every second of reading it. The other one is House of Salt and Sorrows by, I think it's Erin A. Craig. This is a fantasy book. It is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, but honestly that is like the weakest aspect of it. It's basically about this family and a bunch of their daughters have died horribly, and they are now perceived to be a cursed family, and the daughters, who is still alive, their father is marrying a new woman and it's decided that their mourning period is going to end, so they get all these fancy new gowns and they're trying to essentially get husbands, but because they're cursed they can't do, and then they find this portal to this magical place where they can go to magical balls, and it's kind of, I'm not really explaining it well, but it was so interesting to me as a story. The writing was fantastic, the characters were fantastic. I couldn't predict where it was going to go. I thought it was really cool, and yeah, it blew me away with how much I enjoyed it. I really did, and I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did. I thought I'd love it, but I didn't think I would love it. The next question is, what are your 2 new favourite booktubers? And I can't answer this one because I have not watched any new booktubers for quite some time, which is really bad of me. So instead, I'm going to ask you to put 2 of your favourite booktubers down below, but preferably ones you think I'm not aware of. And I will strive to watch more new booktubers. I've actually not been watching a whole ton of booktube anyway, just because various life stresses and things. But when I have watched it, I've mostly stuck to trying to catch up on content of my favourites because I want to support them. So I would like to watch new BookTubers, and sorry I don't have an answer for this. Next question is a book you've read twice, and I am struggling to think of a book that I've read specifically twice. I guess Alice by Christina Henry would count. Having just mentioned that, I've read that once and I just read it again, so that's definitely I've read twice. I've reread more times than I can count The Long Walk by Stephen King, Lost Boy by Christina Henry. I think I'm on the third or fourth rereading of that. I love that book so much. And then I'm about to reread If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio, so that will be the second time for that book as well. And the final prompt is 2 fabulous quotes from a book you've read recently. I'm gonna pick The Places I Cried in Public because it's one of the few books where I've highlighted quotes for, so I can remember them and access them easily. So the first one is, I've got a whole life to try and lead without you, and by damn, that's a good life to have. And the second one is, if you'd have walked past us and you were in a lonely place in your life, we would have made you feel lonelier. And I like the second one because it perfectly conveys kind of being in a relationship and walking along, but also looking at that from a point where the relationship has ended and being like, it's tinged with that loneliness now, and I just like the way it's shaped. And the first one I just think is very uplifting and nice, and I like the idea behind it. So yeah, so the next thing is to tag people. I'm not going to tag people in this video because I'm not really sure A, when this is going up, B, who's making content at the moment, what's going on with the world, but I will tag some people and put them down below, and also tag them on my Twitter and put their channels so you can go check them out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, it helps me out massively, and I hope to see you next time.